Hi, this is Ex Nihilo, and I am going to show you some of the tools that I use to make padded weapons for live-action roleplay games. I know this looks like a lot of different tools and materials, but you can gather it up fairly cheaply, and keep an eye out at yard sales. But every single one of these I use. Some of them are more preference. I want to start off with your most important, your piece of paper and a pencil. Most people try to dive right into drawing their weapons, or right into making their weapons without drawing them. And I highly suggest that you get yourself a little picture of what the most basic parts of your weapons are so that your brain can act creatively around that. So what I do is I draw a line here, and that represents my core, and then I draw up the foam around it, and then I will design my weapon off of that so that I know that I have enough foam in order to accommodate my design. So that's my first tool. Second tool is a Sharpie. Absolute must for marking your foam. It's the best thing to mark your foam. I like the fine tip and the thick tip. And then, of course, a ruler. A nice straight edge is absolutely a necessity, because you want your lines to be perfectly straight. You don't want to be eyeballing them. It just makes it look more crisp, more professional. And then you get into various knives. Now, really all you need is this knife here. This knife is perfectly adequate and can be bought at any craft store, Home Depot, hardware store, what have you. But you will soon find that you prefer different shapes of blades. I love this whittling knife because I can sharpen it. I don't have to buy a new blade all the time. And it's very good steel, very sharp, and good for cutting fine detail. I like this knife because it's small and maneuverable, and when I'm putting bevels on the edges of foam, it is very nice for that. This is just a leather knife. And an absolute must, you cannot do boffer creation without a junky old kitchen knife. You can certainly use a high-end kitchen knife if you'd like to, but this is something that I've developed using a junky sharpening stone with your junky kitchen knife makes for a nice serrated blade that works better than a razor-edged blade in cutting foams, especially cushion foams and polystyrenes, things like that. So, absolute necessity. Not a knife, but you need some form of saw to cut through PVC, fiberglass. I like this one. It fits in my kit nicely, so I can bring it with me. And then let's move on to scissors. I always keep my eye out at yard sales for old scissors because I like the different shapes. You can get into different areas. Small scissors are great. And then for cutting big pieces of foam, or for cutting duct tape, never tear your duct tape, always cut it. I like having multiple different scissors. So these are some of my favorite. Okay, so that's your cutting tools. Let's go on to your shaping tools. So very, very important to have a couple of different rasps to rasp the foam, and it gives you a much more finished edge. Sometimes cutting it just doesn't make it. You can get down in there with this, and this is an absolute necessity. One of the most important tools in your shaping toolbox. This is 60 to 80 grit sandpaper on a block, because you can sand the foam and sand out all of your blemishes with this. I would also suggest having a form of Dremel with a sanding blade and cutting blade, all the various blades, so you'll find lots of use for it. Variable speed is very important. Now, let's go, I guess we're still on shaping, so you need to invest in one of these. It doesn't have to be the top-end heat gun, but you do need a heat gun. AVA foam can only be forged, so to speak, if you can heat it and bend it, and there's lots of really cool techniques that you can do with this nifty little tool. So go out and spend as much money as you can on one of these, because although the very simple ones are great and you can do it with those, it's nice to have variable temperature on it at the very least. So get yourself a heat gun. Hot glue gun. Oh, a hot glue gun in its many uses. This is more than just a glue gun. This is a shaper. This is a you can build up material. And what's nice is the glue, no matter what you do with it, will never get hard enough to hurt somebody by piercing them. You might be able to build up enough that it gives somebody a good whack, but however, the glue never gets sharp. Unlike great stuff you have to be very careful in using, because if it doesn't get enough oxygen, it gets hard as glass and can cut you or cut your opponent. So we do not want that. Okay, this is another nice tool to have. This is a cutter for PVC, but absolutely not necessary, but makes life really interesting, and you pull out one of these while you're showing people and they get to ooh and ah about it. So that's pretty cool too. Alright. I'm going to go on to my glues. Now, your main glue is going to be contact cement. Weldwood is a great source, but it's certainly not limited to. Contact cement is your primary glue, and 3M90, one of my new favorites. Now, this is good for some of the more advanced techniques. I do not use this as my main glue for lamination, but I do use it for a lot of other things. Some Gorilla Glue, very important because it's flexible and strong, and if you want to bond to fiberglass cores, if you want to bond to plastics, this does a great job at doing it, and it fills in all of the gaps. Its only thing is as you can see, it can get very hard, and you must be careful you don't use it in any of your striking areas. So let's get some Gorilla Glue. Now, Plastidip is more your skin and covering. Plastidip is a great stuff, substitute for latex when you don't like using it, latex weapons. However, it gets hard on the blade, and I personally do not like it as a skin for my blade because it slaps too hard, and we like to have it as comfortable as we can. Some Rust-Oleum primer, doesn't have to be Rust-Oleum, but it's good to have bonds to plastic. Now, that is not always the case. There are some EVA foams that do not like this stuff. But primarily, this is great to go over your Plastidip, to color your Plastidip on your hilts and things like that. So, various colors of spray paint are a necessity for your armors and for the hilts of your weapons. They will not hold up on top of duct tape. Duct tape, there's very few things that will hold up to coloring duct tape. Usually it will come off, but you need multiple different colors of duct tape. One color weapon is going to be great. It might be crisp, but it will not be as interesting as having multiple different colors. So that is the wide variety of tools that you need. I have one last thing I see here, and that is a caulking gun. Now, we need a caulking gun for using silicone. Silicone caulking, Ultraflex silicone caulking has many uses, and we also need it for using acrylic paintable caulking so that we can fill in seams and things like that on our armors and on our cross guards and things that we use EVA foam for. So, this is the variety of tools that we need. I hope that you will go out and start working on your collection. because the world of foam is right at your fingertips if you have the right tools. Thank you for watching.